Well, thank you very much, Mike. Your Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of the Republic of Liberia and the co-chair of the Emerging Public Leaders Global Board, Dr. Joseph Kinyua, the head of Kenya's Public Service and Secretary to the Cabinet, the Chairperson of the Public Service Commission of Kenya, Ambassador Anthony Mushiri. Allow me to recognize in a very special way the Head of Public Service of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Nana Kwesi Agyekum Dwamena, Ms. Karen Wakoli, Ms. Elizabeth Williams of Kenya, as you heard, the commissioners of the Public Service Commission, permanent and principal secretaries that are here, the pioneer cohort of the Public Service Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it truly is a great honor for me to be here today at this very auspicious inauguration of one of the most impactful programs ever launched on our beautiful continent. And of course, I was told last night that this is not the first country that it's being launched in by Ms. Elizabeth Williams of Kenya. Let me, in a very special way, thank the Emerging Public Leaders and the Emerging Leaders Foundation, based in Washington, D.C., for their support in establishing this architectural model that will revolutionize public service. I want to thank all the partners, key partners that are here, and who are working with all of us on the continent in nurturing young, value-based public servants. Now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, through this program, we're sure of injecting new ways of thinking and approach in government institutions that will ensure for all of us greater efficiency, greater transparency, and effect very useful and value-based public service. Your Excellency, Madam President, our Constitution has an entire chapter on leadership and integrity. It's chapter 6. It took us a long way and a very long time to come up with this chapter in our Constitution. And at that time, I was actually very, very fortunate because I was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Justice. And in coming up with this chapter, we just wanted to make sure that any new recruits into the public service would have to meet certain requirements of integrity, of humility, of honesty, of courage, and things like that. And for me, I think the satisfaction is that today, no one is recruited into the public service without providing evidence of not having been involved in any acts or omissions that would be offensive to public service. Because it's true that one has to believe in public service to serve in it. If you don't believe in it, you can't be part of it. And I say that because I think me and the head of public service, some of the commissioners that are seated here, Ambassador Mushiri, have been in public service for a very long time. And the only reason that we've stayed this long in public service is because we truly believed in it. We wanted to make sure that the work we did for the public, because honestly, you have to forget about yourself most of the time. and only think about how that individual, that group, that community that you're serving feels about the quality of service that you're providing. Are you doing it honestly? Are you doing it passionately? Do you believe in what you're telling them that you're providing? Have you worked at it so that it's the best possible service that you're giving? And does it matter who you're giving it to? Who are you providing this service? Does it matter whether it's somebody who's just walked off the streets or it's somebody who sits in a big office, big corporate office, or big public office? Does it matter? It doesn't. It doesn't. I remember walking into the ministry and I was in a small office in the legal department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'd served in one other ministry before. And I found a group of people waiting to be served. What they wanted was an authentication of the certificates that they were carrying so that they could use those certificates to access some service abroad. And I walked in, it was my second day in office, and I looked around at them, and I decided that I was going to start with the oldest. And I would look around for the most vulnerable. And at first it caused quite a commotion. Why would you do that when the youngest has been sitting there for the longest? But it was clear to me that this individual that was the oldest had probably traveled from a very long distance. And they were doing this for their child who was going to travel abroad. And they may not even have the transport to take them back, nor any money for accommodation. And so it came naturally, maybe because I came from a really humble background. So it really came naturally to me that I took the oldest, serve them as quickly as I could, and then, go down the line. But honestly, I stuck to that, and the commotion dwindled because it was easy to explain that I wanted to serve somebody who was the same age as my father before I served one who was the same age as I was. And so it really, when you cross that threshold of knowing that actually it doesn't matter who you're serving, but that the quality of that service has to be the same no matter who it is, then the whole issue of integrity, humility, and I know you've been taught about that, self-reflection, right? The courage to act in a certain way, the honesty to always speak truth to those that may be your superiors, when you feel strongly that what they may want you to do is not right. Yeah? When you get there, then you'll never leave the public service because you would actually have stumbled upon the essence of public service, the desire to serve your country, the desire to serve the people that live in your country, whether they be your compatriots or residents of your country. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I spoke to a group of cadets a while back. I was invited by the late chairman, may his soul rest in peace. And as I talked to them, I actually realized that some of just the basic practical things that one meets and sees on a daily basis is so critically important to training of public servants that it needs to be emphasized, re-emphasized, repeated over a long period of time. The other thing I'll tell you, and then I'll probably come to the close of my brief remarks, is that remember that every cog in a wheel matters. It doesn't matter how small it is. And in fact, I'll go further than that and say that every cog in that wheel has very useful information, right, for every other cog. And I say this because, and I keep repeating this story, by the way, so you may have heard it, that one of the people that I depended on more than any others in the small office that I occupied when I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs then, was the lady who served me tea. And what really amazed me was how much information she had. Her son works with me now. But she taught me so much about the public service. I mean, I was really, fresh-eyed, just completed, master's program in a university. And I didn't know the nitty-gritty of, some of the things that I needed to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And she found those things for me. And she taught me how to deal with them. Because she had been in the public service for 20 years before I joined. And so she actually knew how to get information. She knew what kind of file I needed to find in order to draft a certain letter. She knew that a note verbal needed to be written a certain way. She was one of my best teachers. So please don't ever forget that clerk who brings you the file every day, that lady who serves you tea and has been there for longer than you have, has information that's critically important. She'll even tell you how to serve people, who to look after first, and how many times that person has been in the office before looking for service, and whether last time they stayed for 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours waiting to be served. So I think that if you remember that every cog in that wheel must be attended to and serviced for it to function, for the whole wheel to function, then you'll be in very, very good hands. So let me say something about our chief guest. Her Excellency, the former president of Liberia. Now, you heard what Ms. Okoli said about her, that she walked into the plenary and found only one woman head of government. The former president has served as an example to all African and non-African women. She didn't just serve as president of our country. She fought for the liberation of our country. She did everything she could. She spent every ounce of energy she had to make sure that the democracy she believed in, that the accountability that she believed in, the transparency she believed in, would finally come to our own home country of Liberia. She worked very hard. And if she was to tell you what she had to do to actually get Liberia back on the right track, you'd be completely shocked. And so all of us tried to emulate her. All of us tried to do everything that she did. And of course, we always fell short. And Your Excellency, we're still trying. We hope that one day we'll be able to achieve just a small percentage of what you're able to achieve for your country, for our continent, and for the globe. And we truly celebrate you every single day. It always gives me immense pleasure to see you and listen to you. And therefore, without further ado, let me ask all of you to be upstanding as we request Her Excellency to come and make her speech.